Hi guys, it is week 4 of my 30-day postpartum weight loss challenge, which means I am at the end. So today, as a conclusion to this series, I thought I would kind of walk you through what the last 30 days have been like. I'm going to talk to you about some things that I did in terms of adjustments this last week that I think are going to make me more successful as I begin just my normal day-to-day routine. And then I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys gave me on Instagram, because you guys had a ton of questions about food and exercise and breast milk supply, which I'm happy to go over. So I'm going to go over all of that at the end. At the end of the video, I will also show you a side-by-side comparison of before and after, and I know that you guys are going to want to see that. I will note that I'm not done yet. This is a journey. This is not the end of the road, but I'm very happy with where I am. So I'm going to call it a success. I did manage to lose the 10 pounds in 30 days that I wanted to lose. I started off at 146 pounds and I am now down to 136. This is going to be a long video, as I'm sure you already saw by the timeline down below. I tend to usually try to keep my videos on the shorter side so that they get more views, but I feel like this time I need to just do this video justice and make it a long video. And instead of focusing on keeping it super short to maximize the amount of views I get, I would rather get less views on this video and make it long and let it have all the information that you guys who want to do this journey will want to have. So this video is for you. If it doesn't get a lot of views, that's okay. I would rather it get less views but only have the highly dedicated people who really want to change their lives watching it all the way through and getting out of it what they want. I want to start out by giving a few caveats because I don't ever want to make a video like this be discouraging to anybody. So my first caveat is that this is my own personal journey and I have my own personal fitness goals that I want for myself. This is in no way me trying to tell you to look the way that I'm trying to look or to even have the same goals that I have. I want you to understand that I have been an athlete my whole life, and where I am most comfortable with my body is being a little bit on the muscular side. And like when I was happiest with my body, I was actually about 6 pounds heavier than I am right now, and I was covered in muscle, and that's how I love to look. So that's the goal that I have, is getting a little bit more muscular. I have no interest in being skinny. I'm not trying to get skinny. I'm trying to get fit and toned and making my body look the way I want it to look. If you have different goals for yourself, that's okay. I think you should still listen to what I've done and then adapt it for your own personal goals and your own personal needs. Another caveat that I want to give, and this is really more to keep there from being arguments in the comments section, and that is, everyone is entitled to feel about their body exactly the way they want to feel. And there are different body types and different people who like different body types for themselves, and that's okay. And this video is in no way an effort to body shame anybody and make them feel like, you know, if you look more like the way I looked at the beginning of my journey and you're happy with that, this is not to say you shouldn't look like that. This is to say that for me personally, given my history and the way I like my body to look, that wasn't making me happy. And I'm on a journey to make myself look a way that makes me happy. So this is in no way an indictment on anybody for having a different body type than what I started with or what I'm finishing with at the end of this 30 days. And so I would just ask that, because I'm not here to body shame you or make you feel bad about the way you want your body to look, I would love it if in the comments section you wouldn't make comments about my body and how you think my body should look, whether it looked better before or looked better now. Like just don't, let's just not comment on each other's bodies. Let's just not do that. Everybody should feel happy in their own body, and that should be it. So with the caveats out of the way, let me go ahead and jump into what these last 30 days have been like, starting with my last week, so week 4 of the journey. I decided that week 4 was going to be all about overcoming obstacles. I feel like you can do anything for 30 days, and the obstacles, you just kind of push them out of your mind because it's just 30 days and then it's over with. But in order to make a lifestyle more sustainable, I feel like you have to address your obstacles head on and change them if you can. Obviously, you can't change all obstacles or circumstances, but the ones you can change, you should address them and try to change them. So here is a list of some of the things that I worked on this week in terms of overcoming obstacles. Number 1 is the enormous hill that I live on. I live at the very bottom of a hill, and to get up to the top is a very, very, very long walk. And although my husband and I used to be so good about taking walks or jogs with our dog back when we didn't have kids and we lived in a more urban area where it was totally flat, this hill has just crushed our spirits, and we don't do any walking because we don't want to go up that enormous hill. So the first thing that I addressed this week was taking ownership of that hill. I decided that I have to teach my brain that that hill cannot conquer me, I can conquer it. And that way, once I teach myself that the hill is not something to be intimidated by or afraid of, I might actually be more likely to go on walks with my family or go for a jog or something like that. So this week I focused on doing workouts outside, which is something that I wanted to do anyway, and doing my workouts on this hill. And this has been a very big encourager for me because I realized like I get a big workout on that hill, doing sprints, doing squats up and down the hill, walking backwards to work different leg muscles, just anything that I could think of that would get a sweat going and work some of my muscles and burn fat. I did it and it was free. And after doing a couple of workouts on that hill, I've noticed that getting up the hill is so much less discouraging than it used to be. So for me personally, going on walks is a lot easier because I can get up the hill easier without being so winded and just hating it so much. The other obstacle though that I have regarding walking is that, as I've mentioned before, my husband is sick and not like he has a cold, he's sick. And that makes it hard for him to work out with me a lot. Walking is something that he can do that's not bad on his joints, that doesn't exhaust him too much, but the hill. So one thing that he and I did this week was we just drove around our area, which is covered in hills, and we looked for a flat place where we could easily get to, park the car, put the kids in strollers, and go for a walk together so that he could get some exercise. And to be honest, in that little adventure, we found so many cool places. Places we didn't even know existed in the area where we live. So we got to go exploring with our kids, we got to be outside together, my husband got exercise, and we were able to do a lot more walking. And I spent more time with my husband because usually when I'm working out, he's sitting down and I'm outside and we're not together. So that's another obstacle that I felt really proud to overcome this week. Just trying to think of how I can address issues like that that are going to get in the way in the long run and prevent me from being dedicated to my plans. Another obstacle that I addressed this week was the motivational side of it. It gets very lonely and discouraging working out by yourself, especially when you're using an app that you don't feel is as challenging as it should be for someone at your fitness level. You don't feel like you're working out as hard as you want to. You just eventually kind of want to give up. So aside from it just being lonely working out by yourself, it's also lonely being a mom and just not feeling like you have anyone walking on that road with you. So this week, I have a neighbor across the street who is pretty much my same age and has a son who is Roman's age. And we never spend time together. We, wave and say hi as we're both wrangling our children into our cars and going wherever we're going. And we never stop to ask each other like, hey, where are you headed? Should we go together? So this week we decided to go do a workout together at a new place that just opened up called Surf's Up. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this place is probably not for me, but I had a lot of fun. So thankfully, my neighbor across the street called and asked me to come try this thing called Surf's Up. I don't know if this is a chain, I don't know if this is a trend, who knows what this is, but it's like surf-inspired exercise. I'm getting my shoes on, guys, I'm sorry. And yeah, so I'm gonna go give that a try. And hopefully it's something I enjoy because they're offering a free trial, and if I like it, I might sign up. Come on, shoot. Okay. I have my big bottle Waterco bottle and I'm bringing one for my neighbor because I'm a retailer, I can do those things. And so we're going to go see what this is all about. She's driving, which is nice. Used to have designated drivers, now I have exercise drivers. I got to enjoy some quality time getting to know my neighbor. I made a new friend. We've hung out a couple times since going to that workout class together. And it was very motivational to have someone, to know there's someone right across the street who I can call up and say, hey, do you want to go do a class together? All right, so this is Erin, my neighbor. She's doing this class with me. She's the one who invited me here. I'm scared.
I'm scared. I am not comfortable at all, but we're gonna do it.
It's literally sand on the floor. We're standing in sand.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hop on these boards here and give it a go.
Anywhere, you'll be fine. But like, yeah, you won't think about it. You'll just jump up. Yeah. Today's class is power, so it's a good class to start with because we're not doing as much balance stuff on the board as we do in some of the other classes. So it's kind of nice because you get a little bit of it, but not a whole class. So it's a good one to start with. By the end, you'll be like, wow, I'm like drenched and I'm tired, and I didn't have to hop, which is awesome because it's really easy on your joints.
Yes, awesome. I did not want to be jumping, running, jumping, and climbing trees.
Yeah.
Got a really wiggly board.
Mine's not super wiggly. Mine's actually pretty stable.
I have a really wiggly board.
That's good. How wiggly is yours? Are you super wiggly?
No.
No? Okay, good. What were your thoughts?
Very challenging. I really enjoyed it. Very challenging.
Yes. Humbling.
Yes, very humbling. I had to stop a couple times and catch my weight, catch my breath, catch my balance.
Get back on the board.
Yes. I did have to do that.
We're covered in sweat. Look.
Sweat and sand. It's a good time.
And sand. It sticks. It sticks. There's my boobs. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Hi.
Good time.
Fist bump it. Yeah. The last obstacle that I was working on overcoming this week was related to the last one, which is not having enough time to exercise. And I just realized that, especially on weeks like this week where I'm understaffed, so I have way more work on my own hands than usual. My husband has been out of town and my children have been sick and cranky and not napping. And I realized getting a workout in on those days is just very, very challenging. So I worked on this week making workouts out of things that I'm doing anyway. So I went out in my garage where I had tons of boxes that I needed to break down, and I decided to break down the boxes for time. Meaning, I'm gonna break down these boxes as fast as I can. And I focused on squatting down and picking them up. Like, instead of taking all the boxes and putting them up on a table, I put them all on the floor. So I had to squat down with each one and stand up and cut it, squat down again. And I did the same thing in my kitchen while putting away dishes, or when I'm down on the floor playing with Abby, doing planks or sit-ups and things like that. And although it's not a workout, it's something that I'm doing to get the endorphins rushing, get my body in motion, and maybe get my heart rate up a little bit. And I've been really encouraged by that. It's amazing how much more energy I feel during the day when I'm doing little things like that just to get my heart rate going. I don't need a cup of coffee. You know what I'm like? If I get my heart rate up doing the dishes by just moving around a lot and doing it as quickly as I can, A, I get it done faster, which is nice, and B, I find myself energized and awake, and that cup of coffee I was getting ready to brew, I don't need it. So those were kind of the obstacles that I was working on overcoming this week, and I challenge you to try to do the same, because although your life is gonna look different than mine, I bet we have some of the same challenges, and you probably have your own unique challenges that if you really sat down and listed them out, you could come up with good solutions for them that will help you live in a more healthy way. Exercise was for sure the biggest challenge, and I'm still working on overcoming that. Food, diet and nutrition was a pretty big challenge, but I'm gonna be honest, I think about around week 3, I really nailed it down, and I eliminated food as a challenge. I feel like I have really reined in that horse, and I have a good system that's working for me. And since a lot of you guys on Instagram asked me about my diet, I'm gonna spend some time talking about that now. In my ideal world, I would cook culinary masterpieces every night. I would make these big, beautiful meals for my family. I would make trips to the farmer's market every week and get myself fresh farm-grown organic produce, and it would all be fresh, and I would make exotic meals every night. And the truth is, that's just not my life. Not only do I not have time for that, but I also don't have the motivation. And what I discovered in week 1 was that that approach was actually pretty deflating for me, because I was hungry, I was sugar starved, so I was in a bad mood. I was feeling lethargic and just irritable. And the thought of having to pull out 35 ingredients and 20 spices and have all 4 burners on my stove going, and it just was like, enough. I couldn't deal. So the groove that I found was actually to eliminate the number of ingredients that I was gonna use for any meal, like just winnow it down as much as I could, and also eliminate variability from our diet. And it sounds really boring, but for somebody like me, it worked so well. So I went to the grocery store and I bought big packs of chicken breasts and chicken tenderloins. I bought frozen packs of salmon and tilapia fillets, and like on Sunday nights or Monday mornings, I would just throw all of that in the oven and cook it. And now I had tons of cooked chicken and fish that I could have at any time during the day. I started being creative with the dinners, where sometimes I would chop up the chicken and throw it in a salad with some diced hard-boiled egg and some veggies and nuts and things like that and make a really delicious chef salad. But a lot of times I would just have the chicken that I'd already made and some frozen veggies from the frozen produce section at the grocery store. I just really found that making meals easy and boring was better for me than making them difficult and exciting. It just worked better for me. I had a lot of things that were my go-tos for snacks. I love apples and almond butter, so I had a lot of that. I usually ate almonds or peanuts, hard-boiled eggs all the time, carrots and hummus. Occasionally I had some yogurt, but I was always kind of careful with that because that does have sugars and some carbs in it that I didn't want to have a lot of. String cheese was always a good go-to for me. And I also liked going to my grocery store's deli and just getting very, very thinly sliced, almost shredded ham and roast beef, as well as thinly sliced cheese, because those were things that I could just toss onto a plate and munch on them during the day, and it was just something that filled me up really well and I actually enjoyed eating. I made a lot of my own smoothies as well. Most of those just included coconut milk, some whey protein, and then some kind of fruit, and always a little bit of spinach tossed in just to get a few extra greens. Now the diet that I follow and that I have followed for a long time is paleo. I came off of it over the last 3 years. For 3 straight years, I have either been growing, birthing, or breastfeeding a baby. And during those 3 years, I formed some really bad habits. And one of those was coming away from the paleo diet. But that was what I had done years ago. I think I did it for 4 years straight, and I never felt so good. So that's been the diet that I have been following mostly. I get a lot of my recipes from paleoomg.com. I'll link it down below because it's a great website for recipes. I also Google a lot of Whole30 recipes because those can be easy and they're very healthy for you as well. And you know, people have different opinions about paleo, I get it, and I think from what I've seen in the fitness community, people are moving a little bit away from paleo and they're doing things like keto or macros and that kind of thing, but I'm not in a point in my life where I'm ready to learn a whole new nutritional scheme, so I'm sticking with paleo because that's what I know. It's basically keeping out anything white, so like white rice, white bread, things like that. You do not have them. And you're just eating basically fruits, vegetables, meats, some dairy, nuts, things like that. And most of those things, like I said in one of my older videos, you can find on the perimeter of your grocery store. Even if you don't ascribe to a diet, if you just do all of your shopping or the majority of it around the outside of your grocery store instead of on the inside, like in the aisles, you'll be doing better. A lot of you guys, because you are moms, have been very curious about how this dieting and exercising has affected my milk supply, and I'm happy to report that I don't see any difference in my milk supply whatsoever. My baby is staying fed, she's not losing weight, she's happy, except when she's fussing because of being of teething. My milk supply has been really good, and I attribute that to really 2 things. The first one is not restricting my intake of food. And I think that's really, really important if you are a breastfeeding mom. It's not about starving yourself. Well, it should never be about starving yourself for any reason, for anybody, but never conflate restricting calories and restricting the type of food you eat with restricting how much food you ate. I eat pretty much all day long. I'm grazing on stuff or I'm having a big meal, but I'm eating the healthy things that are good for me. I'm not snacking on potato chips and crap, you know, and because of that, the amount of food that I eat in a day has not gone down. I think I still eat the same amount of food that I did before. I just am eating healthy things that my body is using to actually nourish itself instead of garbage. And the other thing that I attribute it to, hands down, has been drinking my water. You guys know I'm a big advocate of the Big Bottle Co. water bottles, and this has been the sole reason why I have been on track with my water goals as I have. I fill this up every morning, and when I started this journey, I was having a hard time finishing it. Like, it was a chore to get just halfway down the bottle by the end of the day. And now I'm happy to say that 5 weeks later, I'm drinking 2 of these a day. That's 4.4 liters of water that I'm drinking a day. And if I don't, like, I went out yesterday and forgot my water bottle and could not get access to water for a while. And when I got home, I chugged a whole one of these down. Chugged it down. Because the more water you drink, it seems like the more water you need. And I know that water is a big deal for milk production as well. So I think between eating lots of food, but just making sure it's not garbage that I'm eating, and drinking lots of water, I've noticed no change in my milk supply whatsoever. In terms of exercise, I've covered a lot of that, but some of you guys had some specific questions. I've been using an app called 8Fit, and I've really enjoyed this app for trying to squeeze in quick little workouts. I think it's great for moms. Most of the workouts I've seen have been between 8 and 11 minutes long, and who doesn't have 8 to 11 minutes? Like, you can make that happen. My least favorite thing about the app is that if you are further along on your journey, I found it to be a useful app for me on day 1 of the plan, but as I went further along, even when I put the app all the way up to like the highest settings, I just found that the workouts really weren't enough for what I was capable of doing. They weren't getting me out of breath anymore. I didn't feel my heart rate going up that much. So instead of working with the app all the time, I've done things like sprints up the hill. I have done squats with my squat rack, which I know not everybody has access to one of those, but probably the best thing that I got was a 15-pound kettlebell. I bought it at Target. I think you could find it just about anywhere. And I did lots of things like kettlebell swings, kettlebell clean and jerks, kettlebell push presses, all things that I can do pretty easily that get your heart rate up pretty well. So between doing the app, doing the squats, doing the hill exercises, and working with my kettlebell, I feel like I've kind of found a groove that works for me, that is sustainable, that I can enjoy. Do I wish that I could take classes, like go back to doing CrossFit or doing some of the cool spin classes and stuff around here? Absolutely. But since that's not really in the cards for me right now, I like the at-home workout method that I'm doing because it seems to be working. Some of you guys asked what is the hardest thing that I'm getting adjusted to with my postpartum body. And to be honest, I don't have a lot that I'm not happy with right now. Because I pretty much know just about everything is going to fall back into shape. It's just gonna take time. With my pregnancy with Roman, I think it took me almost a year for my hips to kind of shrink back into where they belong. I still don't feel like my hips are close at all to where they naturally lie on my body. And because of that, even as I'm losing weight, since my hips are spread out further than they usually are, it's making it look like I have more fat around my waist than I do. So that's a bummer because I feel like I've lost 10 pounds and it doesn't look as obvious, but I do know that that's going to come back. It's gonna fix itself with time. The other thing I've had a hard time with is that I have ripped abs. There is a technical word for that. I'll have to put it down below because I can never remember what it is. But that has been difficult for me because I have always had very strong six-pack abs, and now I just can't seem to even get any kind of definition until that's fixed. So that's been hard to work with, but I'm doing planks and sit-ups and all kinds of workouts that I know are gonna help bring my abs back together so that they are healthy and where they should be, and I have that good, strong core. So some of you wanted to know why 30 days? Why do it in 30 days and be as severe and strict with it as you were? And my answer for that is that I am a person who is very disciplined if I have very defined goals and rules for myself. I don't tend to do well when there are fuzzy boundaries and vague rules. Like if I say to myself, drink less Coke, well, is 1 Coke less? Is 2 Cokes less? It's just hard to say, and I tend to just be very undisciplined. I respond best when I go cold turkey on stuff. If I'm trying to change habits, if I'm trying to change my lifestyle, I always do better in a situation where I just go cold turkey and go very strict. And I find that if I do that for 30 days and I'm committed to it, at the end of those 30 days, I don't want the things that I wanted before. And I can give you a great example. Yesterday when we were out at a little indoor playground with my son and my neighbor's son, I did not bring my water bottle with me and I got really, really thirsty, and they had a vending machine over there. So I went over to the vending machine and I see Cokes and Gatorade and juice and chocolate milk, all the things that I would have really loved to get into a few weeks ago, and all I wanted was water. And I knew yesterday was the last day of my cleanse. I could have those things if I wanted them, but I didn't want them. And I think that if I had spent the last 30 days winnowing down, like just gradually weaning myself off of this stuff, I think that I would still have that craving for it, because my body would have still been getting it every now and then. When I teach my brain, you can't have that, you can't have that, you cannot have that, my brain eventually says, okay, how about something else? And that has worked so well for me. I feel like I have broken so many bad habits in the last 30 days. And to list them briefly, nighttime snacking. I don't do it anymore because it's not fun to nighttime snack on celery. So I just don't nighttime snack, and I don't have that urge anymore. I drink water all the time and I don't crave Cokes. I find myself when I do, like if I'm at a friend's house and they've cooked a meal or something and they have dessert, I find I want a bite or two of it and I'm done. Not because I can't have it, but because now I don't want to have it. I have so much more energy, and having more energy has resulted in me wanting to exercise more. I feel better about my body, and because of that, I'm wearing clothes that lend themselves more to working out in. And I think this is a really important point, I think. When I don't feel happy with my body, I sit around in sweats and an oversized t-shirt all the time. And it is nearly impossible to feel motivated to exercise when you're in sweatpants and a t-shirt. As I've begun feeling better about my body, I've just found myself gravitating toward workout shorts and tank tops instead of that sweatshirt that I was wearing. And because I'm dressed like an active, fit individual, I start acting like an active, fit individual. And I think that has made a really big difference in terms of my overall health goals. So if you're somebody who's wanting to start this journey, I think I might have a few pointers for you that I think would be useful. Cut out sugars if you can. Sugars are the devil, and just get rid of them. That's step one, is just makes such a big difference. 2, be prepared for it to be an emotional roller coaster. When you make dramatic changes to your life, it's just your body revolts, your brain revolts, and you're going to feel highs and lows, and you have to be willing to accept that and be okay with that and know that you're healthy and all right. And obviously, if you get super depressed to where you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, or you're having dangerous thoughts about yourself or your children or your spouse, that you need to address that. But if you're just feeling down, you're feeling blues, you're feeling discouraged, that's normal and it's okay. My advice for anyone who's like me is don't try to go overkill with making really creative meals. Make it as simple as possible, because the simpler it is, the more likely you're going to be to stick to it. Find exercise that you enjoy. I think I mentioned this in my last video, but it's a big deal. You are not going to want to exercise if you're doing crap that you don't like doing. But if you find something that's fun for you, like cycling, or try barre, oh my gosh, B-A-R-R-E, that is a fun workout where you get to do it with other people around you. It's exciting, there's cool music. Find something that you love and do that, because otherwise you're never going to feel motivated. Drink your water. It's going to make you feel less hungry. It's going to make you feel so much better all around. It's just, you can't leave that out. You have to do it if you're going to do a 30-day cleanse like I'm doing. And lastly, I guess I would just say, know yourself. And I really think before you start a 30-day cleanse like I did, you should do exactly what I did, which is you sit down and you do a little self-reflection and you try to figure out, how do I operate? What motivates me? What discourages me? And when you make that list the list of the things that really encourage and motivate you and the things that really deflate and discourage you. You get a really good idea. I think right there on the paper you will see a game plan emerging from the paper. You'll see exactly what things you should be doing that will motivate you and what things you really need to stay away from because they discourage you. I think that level of self-reflection is needed when you sit down and make this plan. So I think I've covered just about everything that I wanted to cover. Let's go ahead and show you the before and after videos of all this. Note that this is not the finished product. This is just the end of a short part of my journey, and I am looking forward to showing you updates as I go because I think it's fun. Alright guys, so that is it for my 30-day weight loss challenge. This will be the last video in this series. I hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. And I hope that in some way it inspired you. I hope nothing about it discouraged you or made you feel bad. If it did, I'm sorry. I just appreciate you being here on the journey with me. Love ya, mean it always, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.